Welcome. Welcome. This is Doug with New Health Paradigm. So today I want to go over root causes of chronic digestive issues and gut infection with you guys. So chronic digestive issues and gut infection can be a complex, frustrating, and a mysterious challenge for many people, including the so-called experts. Let's explore some primary root causes of chronic digestive stress and gut infection. So I've read quite a few books now on, say, candida, gut infection, just digestive issues in general. Most of them totally miss the mark. Some do okay. Let's see here. I have a book here called Candida Killing So Sweetly. This book does a really good job at creating a supplement protocol. They totally miss the mark on diet. They do a decent job on addressing root cause. They don't totally get all the root causes. Only, I don't even know if they hit half of them. So what I want to do for you guys is just walk you through the 6 primary root causes. And the reason why I really want to address chronic digestive issues and gut infection is because, as Hippocrates said, health begins in the gut. And so if we have a healthy gut, we generally have a healthy body. That doesn't apply 100% of the time, but this is the place to start. So if anyone has gas, bloating, indigestion, they feel their intestines and it's just really sensitive, which means you would have an injury. And then if that injury becomes exacerbated, it might turn into IBS, gastritis, anything that's associated with digestion and itis. Itis is inflammation. So I want to show you guys some of the primary ways that we hurt and damage and poison our digestive tract. Let's see here. All right, number 1 on the list is hard to digest foods. Another common cause of digestive distress and gut infection is consuming hard to digest foods that injure the gut over prolonged consumption. It's like somebody just giving you little punches, like you're training and someone's just like punching your face, punching your face, punching your face. Not super hard, but then over time, you get worn down and it starts to hurt. And that's what these types of foods are doing. As you can see in this picture, we've got nuts and seeds. Nuts and seeds are one of those foods that are, in my opinion, not really human foods. They're very hard to digest. They're very abrasive. They contain plant toxins. They're designed to grow a plant or a tree or, whatever the seed is coming from or whatever that seed is for. So Mother Nature really doesn't want us consuming these seeds. That's why they tend to just travel right through us. Yes, we can soak and sprout these seeds, which does render it more digestible and bioavailable, but at the same time, they are still hard to digest. They will still do damage over time. Generally, they cause constipation. Here it says, our primitive ancestors understood exactly how to prepare foods in a way that made them easy to digest. So our ancestors didn't focus on consuming nuts and seeds, although they might have eaten them out of necessity for survival. Like said, plants use chemical warfare to protect themselves from predators. Unlike, say, a lion that has teeth and has claws and is very capable of defending itself, plants and other microorganisms use chemical warfare. So if you go out in Mother Nature, no matter where you are on the planet, 95 or more, maybe 99% of the plants out in nature, maybe not that high, the vast majority will kill you. They are highly toxic and that's why they're there. And other animals aren't eating them because they are so toxic. Now there may be specific species that have adapted to consuming certain plants that we wouldn't be able to consume so well, but in general, plants have many defense compounds or chemicals although humans have done a great job at breeding a lot of these out. The next one on the list, which is a really common one, this is where I believe that I really developed candida or a gut infection, was from the overuse of antibiotics. One of the most common causes of gut injury and infection is from the use of antibiotics. Antibiotics, meaning anti-life, come in many shapes and sizes and are widely overprescribed. I had torn the bursa sac in my elbow, and I was prescribed to take 16 antibiotics a day by a doctor. And when I started to feel so crummy, I went to a different doctor who said that that was a deadly dose of antibiotics. So even from one doctor to another, they do not agree in the way that they prescribe these. Antibiotics can be an effective tool in emergency situations, but they're often used when it isn't necessary. In the mainstream medical institutions, they love to use antibiotics nowadays when it's absolutely not necessary. Like said, there are emergency situations where it can be helpful, and it's important that we understand those emergency situations. Antibiotics kill infectious and beneficial microorganisms. They kill all microorganisms, well, bacteria. So yeah, antibiotics kill infectious and beneficial microorganisms present at the site of injury and can make the problem even worse by further creating gut dysbiosis if proper care isn't taken. What tends to happen is somebody has a bacterial infection, which is just Mother Nature's way of trying to clean up and protect itself. And then we go in with antibiotics and we further decimate the gut biome. So there's even greater dysbiosis. But I will add, for a period of time, there's like the honeymoon period where the antibiotics will actually work because they just killed off both the good and the bad guys. And it's almost like it's like clear cutting the forest where nothing's grown back yet. So what this creates is an empty palette for more bad bacteria, quote unquote bad bacteria, let's just call them infectious microorganisms, to come in and take over and begin to reseed the ecosystem. This is what we typically see with fungal infections, is when someone takes a large dose or even a small dose of antibiotics. Everyone's different in the way that they handle them. And what happens is the yeast in our body will morph into a hyphae or fungal form. And then what tends to happen is it will just take over. Its hyphae will begin to spread out and just start consuming the organic dead waste. And then once it's really cleaned up the area like it's like we want it to do, it will then begin to consume healthier living tissue, where it will drill little holes into our GI tract lining. And this is commonly called leaky gut. You've got hyphae, basically roots, just going inside the lining of your GI tract. All right, next on the list is chemical toxicity. This is a big one, guys. I mean, it is so hard to avoid chemical toxicity nowadays. You've got a little caption here where we've got chemicals in the air, we've got chemicals in the water, chemicals in the food, chemicals in the soil, chemicals in our household products. So this is a huge issue, man, especially with glyphosate, which we find in the soil, in the food. Glyphosate is water soluble as well. And so the fact that it's water soluble means that we find it pretty much everywhere in our bodies, in lakes and streams, in the ocean. So yeah, chemical toxicity tends to go hand in hand with the consumption of industrial foods laden with herbicides, pesticides, and fungicides, etc. These herbicides, pesticides, and fungicides are generally what you call Roundup or glyphosate. Monsanto is just purchased by Bayer. So Bayer I think, renamed the product and they made some changes to it, but it's essentially the same thing. I, I think they call it something super insidious like freedom or I don't know. If you guys know, comment down below. I heard it. It was just a really, really goofy name, but essentially it's glyphosate being rebranded. So we aren't so aware. Monsanto is getting a lot of heat. So they had to, shift the playing cards around. People are consuming hard to digest foods latent in chemicals, which makes for a digestive bomb, then get prescribed antibiotics to create the perfect storm for totally decimating the gut. So yeah, this is a big one, guys. And I would say this is, once again, one of the more common ways that we injure our gut and develop chronic digestive issues and eventually leading to gut infection. So we eat hard to digest foods. Maybe we've got some non-organic grains that aren't prepared properly. They're covered in herbicides and pesticides, and then we consume that. And not only are we getting the chemicals from the plant that are toxic, we're also getting literal industrial chemicals that are also toxic. And over time, as robust as our digestive tracts may be, they will wear out. Whether it be a few months, a few years, a few decades. Everyone's different. Everyone's constitution is different. But in time, it will happen. And that's what we see today. I mean, just the amount of digestive issues that people experience today is just skyrocketing. And it will continue to skyrocket until we understand what these root causes are and we are proactive in making sure that we avoid these root causes. The government will not do it for you. Doctors will not do it for you. Friends will not do it for you. Family will not do it for you. You are the only one that can take responsibility to avoid these root causes that not only cause digestive issues, gut infection, but a whole host of other health issues, because once again, health begins in the gut. So here we have nutrient deficiencies. Even if we avoid all of these hard to digest foods and these industrial chemicals, if we do not have adequate nutrition in the diet, over time, our body will lose its ability to detoxify and rebuild. And what happens is we develop digestive issues and gut infection. Once again, a gut infection is just Mother Nature's way of coming in and cleaning up and trying to, save the ecosystem. So nutrient deficiencies are becoming more prevalent as we lose touch with the dietary principles of our ancestors. Our ancestors consumed 10 times the amount of fat-soluble vitamins and understood how to prepare the food for optimal digestibility and bioavailability. So these fat-soluble vitamins do come from animal foods. These are fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin K2, as some of the more important ones. You find these in seafood, dairy products, meat products, or just animal foods in general. I prefer, foods like organ meats, raw dairy, wild seafood like oysters. And it's important that we consume healthy animals, pasture raised, wild, raw dairy from happy cows. Otherwise, we're going to be taking in chemicals that they feed the animals. When an animal is not on its appropriate diet and it's being fed, antibiotics and who knows what else, then they end up in the food that we consume. If anyone's ever tasted liver and it tasted like metal and like minerals, That's because the animal was not healthy. So when we do not have deficiencies in the diet and we do not have all these industrial poisons, our physiology will adequately develop. As you can see here, these people in this slide have really wide, robust, fully developed facial features, wide noses. They can breathe really well. They don't have the respiratory issues that modern people do, or people consuming a modern diet. And this is when we receive all the adequate nutrition during the formative years, or the primary developing years, say ages 0 through 7. This really, lays a solid foundation for a healthy body. These people would not have cavities. They can just breathe incredibly well, and they're extremely healthy. Our ancestors who consume ancestral diets or traditional diets, such as was found with Weston A. Price's findings, these people did not have degenerative modern disease. They just didn't have it because they lived in alignment with nature and they understood what their needs were. All right. Stress. Stress is a huge one. Stress comes in so many, let's see here. Maybe I keep it up there. Yeah, stress comes in so many different sizes and shapes. So physiological stress, including mental, emotional, and physical stress from injury and environmental toxins, contribute to the root cause of digestive distress and gut infection. This is just so multifactorial. When the body is chronically in a state of fight or flight, it becomes worn down and incapable of rest and rejuvenation, leading to digestive issues. So a lot of this will be mental and emotional stress. Maybe we're like this caption here shows this dude's really stressed at work. If we tune in to our stomachs, our guts, after we eat a meal and we're stressed, we notice that we may not digest our food as well. So for me, if I eat dinner and then I get into an argument or I get into a stressful situation, I notice that I don't digest my food very well. It shuts down my digestion. What happens is we go into a state of fight or flight, and the blood goes from our organs in our brain to our extremities, like our hands and our legs, because we're going into survival mode. We don't need to think, we don't need to digest when we're in a state where our body thinks it needs to fight or flight. This is survival mode. And when we're in a chronic state of stress, our digestive organs don't work, our brain doesn't work. We're not getting the blood flow, we're not getting the circulation to our organs and our brain that's required for optimal functioning. And what happens is, our organs don't get nourished with the oxygen, the electricity, the minerals that are in the blood. Those areas of the body tend to degenerate when we're in a chronic state of fight or flight. There's also physical stress. So maybe just a hard, laborious job. Maybe you got punched, maybe you're a boxer, you got hit in the organs and it literally damaged your organ, or, your GI tract, or, whatever part was hit. And so there's many ways that stress affects our body. And once again, this is a major primary root cause. I would say mental and emotional stress tends to be the biggest one, especially living in our modern way of living, like waking up, just getting right to the day, rushing to go to work. You're working a stressful job. You come home, you're unfulfilled, so you're just like stressed out. And then you eat food really quick. You sit down in front of the TV. You watch a scary movie, which further perpetuates the fight or flight response. This is just a really brief example, but there are so many ways that our bodies feel stress. Our body doesn't know the difference between a scary movie and a real lion. So we need to really become more cognizant of how much stress we're under. Being able to manage stress and really feel into our bodies and check in all throughout the day, breath to breath, whether or not we're in a state of rest and relaxation or fight or flight, is absolutely fundamental to our well-being in general. So yeah, guys, I'll be making more videos on each and every one of these slides you've seen so far today. Mold, quite an insidious and complicated root cause. So the most complex and challenging root cause of gut infection is mold colonization, generally through prolonged exposure to toxic mold in the home or workplace. This is my opinion. I don't know so much about mold and treating mold. I had a mold infection when I was younger. I used steroids, and it did seem to work okay. Most people tend to become colonized when they're already compromised. And that's not necessarily always the case. If they're living in extreme mold exposure, their body can become dysregulated just by the battle going on between your internal microorganisms and the mold can facilitate or engage in warfare between other microorganisms. Mold has been fighting bacteria for who knows how long. And when mold spores are floating about and you're breathing in lots of mold spores, it can alert the bacteria in your body, and then the bacteria in your body go to war. The mitochondria in your cells are bacteria. They will begin to shut down, and just a whole host of different things happen with mold exposure, especially for somebody that is compromised, which most of us are at this point. Mold proliferates in cold, damp environments. Think underneath a kitchen sink or in an area that has water damage, such as a leaky roof. Mold tends to colonize in the sinuses and GI tract because it tends to be the most damp and environment. It's the most hospitable for mold. Treating mold is generally a delicate and arduous process because what happens is when we tend to treat the mold, say with antifungals or binders, the mold will release mycotoxins, which directly poison the body. These mycotoxins go directly into the bloodstream and they will travel around your body, and they will elicit an entire host of symptoms from, say, brain fog to food allergies to headaches, cold and flu-like symptoms. So when treating mold, it tends to be a very long and slow process that needs to be baby stepped so the mold doesn't freak out, and so basically that you don't become immobilized or basically handicapped from it. All right, so this is the final slide. You can heal your gut. First things first when treating a gut infection or living with digestive issues is to stop injuring the gut. This means avoid those 6 primary root causes that we just went over. So a gut infection is an injured gut that is unable to heal due to a constant barrage of stress or infection. It doesn't matter how you treat an infection, healing will not take place unless you avoid injury. Avoiding injury is the single most important factor for treating gut infection. So an example that I could give for this, it's like you break a finger, it doesn't matter how much medicine you take, if you put a Band-Aid on it or what you do. If you keep hitting your finger, it's not going to heal. So what you can take away today with this video, if you have digestive issues or a gut infection, is to just avoid these 6 primary root causes, and you can begin to alleviate whatever symptoms that you're experiencing. When treating a gut infection, it's a little bit more complicated, but with avoiding these 6 root causes, you can at least begin mitigating the symptoms. In a later slideshow, I will go over some of the tools that we can use to treat gut infection and digestive issues, but this is primary. This is the first step you want to take. So guys, thank you so much. Once again, you can heal your gut. Post your comments, questions down below, and I can get back to you in a video or just comment in the comment section. Let me know what you guys want to see next. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope this was insightful, helpful. You can reach out to me at dougoforgan@gmail.com if you have any questions or want to get in touch with me. I'm currently working with individuals one-on-one and would love to help you in any way, shape, or form if I can. Thank you for tuning in, and talk to you guys next time.